Hey everyone, welcome back to another
Hey,
Design Cuts weekly live session. And I'm really excited to welcome back our very own creative director, Mr. Matt Slightam. Welcome
hey
back, Matt.
Tom. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm
Hey
excited for
everyone.
today. It was obviously a lot of fun with the birthday event last week. So hey
For
to
sure.
everyone that was part of that. And it was really cool to see your session was one of the most popular. Like people literally loved it, got tons of value. So this is the follow-up today, right?
That's brilliant. Yeah, it was such a shame we couldn't squeeze all the questions in, but that's all the better
Mhm.
because we get to have a follow-on session result.
Yeah, I think it could have been about 3 hour session otherwise because
I think so. Yeah,
Matt,
I had to
Matt covered
condense some of the
so
questions
much.
today as it was, and then I went through it early one, and it was half an hour without any talking.
Amazing. So before we get into any of these questions, I'm going to presume that everyone knows what we're talking about, but drop a comment. Did you attend Matt's session during our birthday event all about how to create best-selling digital design products? Or do you have no idea what we're on about, in which case we can explain? Let us know. Annie Palmer says yes. What's up, Annie Palmer? We see a lot of familiar
Of course.
faces. Yeah, seeing a lot of
Oh,
yeses.
awesome.
Cool. And also cast your votes.
Hmm.
So we dropped a poll. If you click on polls below this live session, saying, have you seen the Product Academy? Let us know yes or no. Interestingly, there is about 31% no, Matt. So that means
Wow.
not everyone saw the
Okay.
original
Okay.
session. And yeah, I
Cool.
can see Kim there says no. So, Matt, do you want to maybe just do a brief recap of what that session was during the birthday and what the Product Academy is, which is linked up below the session already by the team?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I could share my screen quickly and just quickly show the
Yeah,
Product
yeah.
Academy. Let's do that.
Why not?
So
Clarissa says, cannot wait to go through the Product Academy.
let's
It is
just
freaking gold, people.
move that. I just happen to have all these links up, of course. Oh, that's not the one we want. That's the one we want. So the
Cool.
Product Academy is a free course written by myself, which takes you all the way through how to make your own digital design products, all the way from the opportunity to finding your talent, defining your audience, you're creating your brand, research, product presentation, all the way through to marketing, and has just got absolutely hordes and hordes and hordes of detail and detail and detail. And at the end of each article, we have got checklists that you can go through to make sure that as you're creating your product, you can just tick those off. So it kind of justifies the whole process. And if you're not sure how to get started in digital design products, this is a really, really fantastic place to start.
Very cool. So you gave a bit of a condensed version of this in our kind of hour to hour and a half session, but this is like the comprehensive information. I mean, it really is a free course in essence.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's a free course. It's the kind of thing you generally pay for online. But I still remember the discussions we had sitting down in a meeting room, and we just said, "Yeah, let's just make it free," because
Yeah.
it gives back to our community, which is what we want to do. And yeah, it's just nice to help.
Yeah, it really is a game changer. So shout out to Matt, who worked for months putting this information together and formatting it for everyone. And as he just said, we did have the conversation and kind of mapped out, well, we could probably make a reasonable amount of money selling this thing. But we're really proud to put it out for free. There is basically very little information out there on how to create digital design products. I'm aware of maybe a couple of other courses out there, which are like $200, $300.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, this is not only the greatest course in the world that teaches how to do this stuff, but it's completely free. So it's Matt's very generous gift to the Design Cuts community. And it was great to see the reaction last week.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Cool. Jay says, free course? Gasp.
It's so difficult to go between. I'm like looking at comments.
I wonder what you're looking at. I was like,
That's
something
it.
out the
I'm
window.
going to have to stop sharing to bring this back so I can. Oh, there we go. That's better.
Cool. But yeah, basically the session ran on because Matt, as always, wanted to over deliver and pack in so much value. So we didn't get to any of your questions and felt a bit bad if we ignored them. So Matt very kindly is jumping on today to run through as many of those questions on the back of that session. But equally, if we got time at the end, pop any additional questions in that ask a question box below this live stream. Without further ado, Matt, should we jump in? Because I know there's a lot to cover.
There is a lot. Okay, great. Let's do this.
Cool.
So let's share my screen again. Give me a shout. Tell me you can see it.
Yes.
Amazing.
There we go. Yeah, we're full screen.
Okay. So this is the Q&A session for last week's session on how to create best-selling digital design products, which is a follow-up focusing on the questions raised in our previous session on exclusives, our exclusive products, obviously, which we create every year with our best of the best designers. So without further ado, let's work into the questions. So Sam said, what do you think is the most important quality that sets a digital design apart from its competitors? Now, Sam, I don't think there's one particular quality that does this. I think it's a combination of things. I think you need focus. You've got to find the opportunity for the product, and then focus up on that opportunity. You know, what are people saying they need in the market? Where do those opportunities lie that you can exploit? So you have to make something that's unique. It's an idea that stands out. Quality and attention to detail, and scope. Blow them away with that. And a perfect example of that, and I know Leslie is here today, is
shout out Leslie.
Hey Leslie, is your amazing inspirational textures and elements pack, which has found a unique niche. It is something new, it's something vibrant, it's textures, but it's bridging the gap to commercial design as well, which hasn't been something that's really been tackled in a big way before. It's got fantastic scope and attention to detail, and it's absolutely massive. So it ticks all those boxes. It ticks the focus, uniqueness, quality, and scope, and it's just an awesome product. So there we go.
With those points, if we were to condense them even more, is it essentially what I'm seeing here is it's well thought out, and then it's going the extra mile.
That's exactly
by pushing all of these as much as possible.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And something, one of the takeaways for this entire session is research. Do your research, immerse yourself in the market, and just keep looking and seeing what everyone else is doing. You will see those gaps, but our job obviously is to immerse ourselves in the market. And the only reason we see our gaps is because we live and breathe digital design products. So we know what's going on, and we know what people are asking for. And that's basically what you need to do as a product designer. It's all about the audience and what they're asking for.
Yeah, we're geeks with this stuff, people.
We are total geeks with it.
Yeah. Cool. Who's next?
Hey, Carol, what is the best way to find people to buy my products? In other words, what is the best way to connect with my audience? And this is, so I'm just going to get some water. Again, something we touched upon in the previous session. And really, it's about building your own highly targeted audience who are interested in the kind of products that you want to design. And then it's about reaching out through influencers audiences such as Design Cuts. How do you build your own audience? You get on Instagram, you get on social, and you give away value, and you connect with others. So that's how you build your own targeted audience. And you can see a post here from Trailhead. They obviously give away free learning content. Design Cuts, they build an audience, and they can then reach out to that audience when they want to sell products. Because they've slowly raised their profile over time, so that companies such as Design Cuts notice them. They can also reach out to us and say, hey, we're releasing this awesome product. Would you be interested in pushing it? And of course, we will say yes. It takes some time, but that's basically how you do it. It's about building that audience and building your brand, and then starting to sell through influencers and reaching out to their audiences.
Matt, I hope you don't mind if I kind of chip in here and there.
No, of course not.
On some of these.
About this subject.
To be honest, I just love geeking out with you on it. So, yeah, of course, Matt's completely right with these. I would also say that actually one of the best things you can do is just create a great product, because no amount of like trying to build an audience or marketing efforts or anything like that will work. The classic marketing analogy is like the steak and the sizzle. So the sizzle is all the marketing and razzmatazz and getting it out there. The steak is the product. If you have a bad steak, then none of the other stuff is going to work or matter. No. So actually, just by doing a really disruptive, incredible product, as Matt demonstrates in this course, will make all of the audience building and getting the word out that much easier.
It certainly is, because when you reach out to a digital design platform such as ours, who do actually review all the products and show it to us, we will instantly notice, we will notice you, we'll notice your brand, and we will talk a lot internally about you. And we will want to help and nurture your brand because we can see you're doing something different.
Cool. Maria says, great, now I want steak.
Me too. Crinkle cut chips and ketchup. Okay. Mabel asks, how do I license my digital items? Well, digital product distributors such as Design Cuts will help you because we have a licensing structure in place. Obviously, we have one simple single license, which is easier for designers to understand. One of the things that we decided when we set up Design Cuts as a company was that a big bugbear for graphic designers is going to buy a product and there being multiple licenses, it being confusing, and often the price you see isn't the price you end up paying most often. So we've just got one simple single license, which is easier for the design community to understand, and it's easier for customers, which is one of the reasons so many people come to Design Cuts to buy our products.
Yeah, I love it. This is a little behind the scenes. We did a skit video, which I think never actually saw the light of day, where we were kind of poking fun of most people's experience with licensing on a lot of other sites.
I mean,
and we had them hold this scroll up. Yeah, it's so confusing.
Pages and pages.
we had the actor in the video hold this scroll up, which represented the license, and let it go, and it just kept unraveling with like legalese, because that's how most people feel. So yeah, it's that combination, Matt, isn't it, of like as simple and understandable as possible, but still being robust enough to legally cover you. And
absolutely, yeah. And there are clauses in there which means that if the likes of, I don't know, Nike or some really big brand comes up and wants to use your product because they're over a certain size with a certain turnover, they would have to renegotiate a license on that level. But the simple license covers the vast majority, but it does cover you for those larger applications as well.
Yeah, exactly. Sam says, I love DC. We love you too, Sam. Who's up next, Matt?
Well, we have Nancy. Should I use a contract for digital designs? If so, do you have any resources or examples of these? Well, this isn't my side of things, obviously, but yes, it is absolutely important to have a contract in place if you're selling your digital design products through someone else. Most distributors will have a license that you should check over. And we use a secure, easy to use online portal to process all of our contracts. But obviously we work very, very closely with all our designers to make this very, very transparent when people come to work with us.
Yeah, and this is really true of whether it's client work or product creation or anything. Absolutely. Just having stuff in writing is a good idea. Like,
it really is.
All the headaches we hear about from people with, as I say, whether it's client work or doing whatever they're doing as a creative, generally can be tracked back to like an absence of a contract or a good foundation.
Absolutely. And when I was running my agency, if you discussed anything with the client on the phone, you then backed it up with an email, because you need that email trail, you need it in writing. So yeah, it's always good to back these things up.
Clients can be good at misremembering, right, Matt? When a few weeks has gone by.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we agreed on
pricing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So Becky next. Working with a platform like Design Cuts, how does the payment structure work? Royalties or a once and done purchase of the product from the creator? Okay, now most digital design platforms such as Design Cuts have a revenue share between the designer and the platform. And obviously then the designer gets a cut for their side of things, and the platform then uses the money that it gets from that to do promotion and distribution. And in the terms of Design Cuts, we also have customer service as well, which a lot of the other digital design sales sites don't. So we do.
Yeah, the designer has to do it himself on those platforms, which
exactly,
can be a bit of a nightmare.
Which is an absolute nightmare. Yeah. So which is why you often see really, really bad reviews for those platforms, and you often see bad reviews for the products itself, completely unnecessarily, because a lot of these reviews are just silly little things which can be rectified really quickly if there's a customer service department working all the time just to jump straight on those things and help out, which is what we do basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Kimberly asks, how do you find the relevant material to create? How do you get ideas? Well, this is back to our earlier point. There is really no shortcut for this. You've just got to research, immerse yourself, and know the audience, know the market. So start following all the big designers on Instagram, start looking at their products, start reading all the comments of their products, listen to podcasts, watch sessions, completely immerse yourself in your target category, target market, to really know what's going on and start to know what the audience actually want. You will see products that are great ideas, but that haven't really been done properly, or products which really haven't gone the extra mile, where you might think, okay, I can create something similar, but I can then elevate it to another level, not copying, but then just progressing that idea. And you will start to see those gaps that you can exploit. And a great example of that, obviously, is the Slayout lettering masterclass, where there was a real gap, I think, for a layout lettering product of that type in Procreate. And because of that, it's selling really, really well.
Nice. Yeah, totally agree. Shout out to all the nice comments as well, who are loving our customer service. Honestly, you wouldn't believe like the level of training and commitment behind the scenes.
Yes.
We basically just work to be the best customer service in the world, and the bar of quality is so high. It's like, how can we really make people's day? So shout out to Kat. A few people were saying she's on vacation at the minute. Also shout out to Mariana, who's behind the scenes right now responding to your live comments. I gave you a big shout out, Mariana, at the end of the birthday, but it was Jem on at that point and not you, so you missed it. But everyone was like, yeah, Mariana, so you missed the fanfare. But yeah, Mariana's awesome as well.
So yeah, it's all about the team, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Okay, so Anupama, hey Anupama, says, do you approach to collaborate with emerging makers whom you think have great potential in producing amazing products with guidance? Okay, one of the fear here is not currently, but because currently we don't really have the bandwidth to take designers that are completely starting out in product design, where we see that talent, and bring them all the way through to that top level. I mean, obviously because we know we haven't quite got the bandwidth to do that with everyone, we've created the Product Academy to help with that, to try and help as many designers as possible get up to a level where we can then nurture them to be the best of the best designers, if that makes sense.
Yes. So, I'd love to share a very quick story on this, though. So Matt's right. We can't currently do it from like nothing up, because there's obviously a big learning curve, and that's why Matt released the incredible Product Academy. But I remember back in the day, I kind of started getting friendly with this up and coming young designer who'd been making a few digital products already, so that wasn't from scratch. And I thought, oh, she's very talented. Might get to know her a bit better and start working closely with her. She seems like she could really go places. And that designer was called Lisa Clans. And funny enough, she took off like a rocket and just made all of these incredible products. And she's often said to me very candidly, she appreciated that we and I were there very early and saw something in her and kind of supported her journey as she developed her skills.
Absolutely. And the fantastic Chris Lauren at Pretty Little Lines, there's a really lovely testimonial from her in the Product Academy, which basically says exactly the same thing.
Yeah, you've been awesome with her.
Much. Yeah, thank you so much for seeing my potential, because I didn't know if I could do this, even if I could have my own shop. And and we helped her out with that and got to her to where she is now. So
talk about imposter syndrome, because she's so talented.
She is awesomely talented. Yeah, Flick took us going, yeah, Chris, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I know. It's so good, so good. But it's difficult as a designer. Oh, there we go, and there it is.
Yeah.
So there is the testimonial, which is on our product submission place, our shop application page. So it says, this segues in nicely. I'm creating designs regularly, but I'm unaware of the things to keep in mind to approach various platforms like Shutterstock, Adobe Stock, etc. I also want to put my digital products like Procreate brushes on design cuts, but how do I go about it? And this is Nita. Hello, Nita. Well, the first thing to remember is that quality bar. Most of these quality libraries will have a quality bar, so you won't just be able to get in with your products. There are some who don't have a quality bar who will let anything in, but that's kind of by the by. I think you should always think about the highest quality bar for your work, so that you can get it into as many of these high-end places as possible. You need to build your own brand and build your equity along with that, which we talked about before. And just to say, yeah, the design cuts model is different to many. Unlike other online stores, we do vet all the products that come in, so that quality bar is super important. And you can apply to open a shop with design cuts. There is a form at the end of the Product Academy. If you think that your product meets all the criteria laid out in the Product Academy, please do apply and we will have a look at your products.
Amazing. And in our final session, I talked about this a bit, how we essentially accept only the top 1% of product creators in the world. So unfortunately, I mean, it's definitely the right model and our community love it and the designers love it. But unfortunately, we have to say no to the majority of people that apply. And we don't enjoy doing that, but it's very important because nothing is as crucial as maintaining that quality. So I just want to say to everyone, don't feel disheartened if you go through the Product Academy and you submit for a shop and you hear a no back, because the team will never be saying, no, we never want to hear from you again. It will be very much like, no, but go back to the Product Academy and try and work through it again and implement everything you've learned and improve. And obviously we want to keep doing live sessions like this to help you improve. We want to help guide you. And if you're not there yet, don't beat yourself up, because the top 1% is a big ask. I'm sure you could probably get accepted on some other platforms before design cuts, but we like to try and be that like top place for people to aim for, because it opens a lot of doors, but we can only do that by being super, super picky.
Absolutely. And what it often is the presentation, because just because you can make a great font, doesn't mean you're a graphic designer. Just because you can make brushes doesn't mean you're a graphic designer. So often it's the presentation that lets the product down, that final step where you just need to practice and practice, look at what the other designers are doing, look at what's working, and then just keep working through it to get that polish. It takes some time, but you will get there.
So worth it as well.
Okay. Yeah. Really interesting question from Emma here, which is, InDesign templates for, say, brochures and magazines don't seem common. Is this because they don't tend to sell well? Well, what I've said here is it's good to think how commercial designers work and what is most useful for them. Because when I was a commercial designer, when I ran an agency, I kind of knew that those brochures and magazine templates were out there. But when I was getting bespoke work in for specific brands, my perception at least was that actually setting up an InDesign template for the brochure and the magazine as an experienced InDesign user wasn't actually that much of an overhead time-wise. And that if I did do that, I would probably have to do quite a lot of customization for the specific job or the specific brand, which would add up to a similar amount of time. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm not entirely sure those are the best avenue to go down, and they might not be the best sellers. Whereas sort of the smaller components that you use in your brand design, in your design for clients, such as fonts, such as brushes, those smaller elements I think are probably more likely to sell because they're more useful items that you can use again and again and again. It doesn't mean to say that you couldn't make an awesome, really, really versatile InDesign template or brochure, but I just don't think the market for that is really quite there.
Yeah, like it might be there, but much smaller. It's very smaller. Like, Matt, have you ever seen that like topping the bestseller charts on any platform, including ours? Like the new InDesign template, it's like it doesn't really happen.
It's a nice thing, and occasionally you might want it, but when you look at the size of the market for brushes, across, if you look at the sales that Trailhead's getting currently, I think that says it all, really.
Yeah, love it. Mariana, if you could link up, a lot of people talking about imposter syndrome in the chat. We've got an Honest Designers podcast episode on self-doubt, one of the early ones. If you can link that up.
Who doesn't get that? Doesn't matter how long you've been working for, does it? Everybody feels that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at that. Mariana's so on the ball. She said, "Yeah, she's already looking for it before I mention it." That's so cool.
Awesome. So Johan asks, the last session was for Procreate. I don't own that as I'm a PC user. Would it be beneficial to purchase that since I'm not a Procreate user? Okay. Well, what I've said here is if you're interested in tapping into a vibrant, highly engaged audience, then yes, absolutely go get Procreate. What I've got here is our current best sellers on our homepage. You will probably notice that a lot of them are Procreate or Procreate products for Procreate. It's a really, really vibrant market at the minute. It's really lively. It's incredibly engaged. Really fun place to produce products. So, if you enjoy drawing in that style, then by all means get Procreate and have a go.
Yeah, totally agree. Definitely a lot of opportunity there.
There really is. It's such a vibrant market, and it's just great fun as well, and just some amazing products being made in it. Really cool.
Yeah.
Amy asks, how long does it generally take to complete a product? Well, I think I put like a typical timeline or like a small timeline in the Product Academy, and it's about 2.5, 3 months. But that was, I mean, it's very speculative. It will depend on how in depth you go into the product, what kind of product it is. The exclusive products can take up to 6 months for the biggest products. Trailhead's product, we are still going with that. That's still being updated. These products are still being, split apart. And there's different strategies. You can create lots of small products, or you create the occasional big product where you put all your time into that. And it might take longer initially if you're a side hustle because you won't have the time. And later on, then you will get more time if it becomes your main focus. What I've said is, look at how other designers work and look at their schedule. Pay note of how often they release products, what kind of products they are, what's the scope of their product, and just think about what might work best for you. Because I think it can work either way. You can produce a lot of smaller products and have a quite high cadence of those, or you can produce the occasional big product, or as lots of the big designers do, they do both. If you look at the likes of Julia Dreams, she produces lots of products quite quickly, and the occasional big product as well. It's kind of covering all the bases, I think.
What I've seen is, and this kind of maps to our quality over quantity value at Design Cuts, there are people on other platforms who are cranking out a font every week, literally every single week. And when you talk to the people at the top of their game, they go, you just can't do that and expect a high level of quality. So there's people that can spend a lot more, but be aware, I would say the prolific people out there are probably doing one a month at most, but that's them working like 12-hour days. It's fully focused.
Yeah.
So manage your expectations. If you're doing it as a side hustle around a day job and a family and that kind of thing, it's not going to be possible to do that level of quality with that frequency of once a month compared to like a Lisa Glanz who's up in her attic squirreling away constantly.
For sure. I mean, I don't know if Julia did watch the last session. She said she might not have time to watch this one today, but she'd watch it back later. But I know Julia's quality of work is supreme, and I know she lives and breathes her products, and she puts a lot of time in. So she can produce quite a lot of products, but keep that quality level high, as Tom says.
Yeah.
Heidi asks, I know evergreen products are best, products that obviously make this continual revenue, but what if I have an idea for a seasonal product? Are seasonal products successful too? Well, what I've said here is just absolutely yes, seasonal products can be successful. However, the nature of it, as you've already said here, is that they're not evergreen. They will be seasonal. So you might be best if you want to produce seasonal products to cover all the seasons, cover the bases, Christmas, Halloween, Valentine's Day, etc. If you want to produce a more steady revenue stream, but also produce other types of products as well, because you will want that evergreen revenue coming in, because we've all got mortgages and bills to pay and food to buy, etc. So you will want to kind of flatten out your revenue stream really to get a steady revenue, ideally.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Yeah, Mix Pixbox, if you're familiar, she's really popular in our overlay section, and actually she's got such a volume of products that you can see different ones trending at any point of the year.
Yes,
because she's covered all bases.
Yeah, she's covered all the bases still. So yeah, absolutely. But you can, cover those
it's
bases.
Really, definitely. Have you noticed that, Matt? In the overlay sections, that'll be like, oh, Halloween, she's at the top. Christmas, she's at the top. Like,
awesome.
New Year fireworks,
really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Emma asks, how do you decide? This is a really interesting one, actually. How do you decide how best to brand yourself if your digital products have different styles? Really, really interesting. It's something that obviously, if we are running a digital platform such as Design Cuts, or you're running an agency, you are showing lots of different types of design and products. Or if you're a designer, as you can see, such as Julia Dreams here, who has just released her new website, and this is a screen grab from it. There are lots of disparate products there, lots of different styles. What I would say is you should look for an underlying style for your brand. Often the clean brands work really well when presenting lots of different styles. So as with Julia Dreams here, really nice, simple sans serif font, very clean, neutral color background, etc., or neutral color palette. Obviously, Design Cuts is mainly, you know, blues, grays, etc., so that it doesn't then distract from lots of different colorways. So that's quite a good way to go. And that niching down creates stronger brands. So it is good to, even if you create lots of different types of products, try and find that common thread. Because if you're trying to promote yourself on Instagram or market yourself or brand yourself, having that one identity or that one common thread which runs through all your work, such as a Julia Dreams has or Lisa Glanz, etc., that's really, really handy. And yeah, find your talent and then focus on that. So
I love that you touched on niching, Matt, because I find it a bit disconcerting if you have no idea what to expect next.
it's,
I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
it can be nice, like Lisa Glanz, because I keep shouting her out. If she just released a new pack, it's surprising in a nice way of like, oh, I didn't know what she was going to make. That's delightful.
Sure.
But it's not surprising in the way of like, oh, that doesn't feel like Lisa.
No, they
It
all
feels
feel
very
like
much like
Lisa
Lisa.
Glanz, don't they? And some of her
And same
recent
with
products
Julia's.
have been, yeah, absolutely. And some of Lisa's products have been really different recently. I'm like, oh wow, that's really interesting. You know, that's really different. But you can really tell it's her. You can really tell it's her brand. So she builds that brand identity. She builds up her own equity. She gets a real following behind her of, you know, tens of thousands of designers who want to know what's coming out next. So important to keep that commonality and niche.
So I guess what you're saying, Matt, is the brand and the style is consistent, but
Absolutely.
the product itself can be more disruptive, innovative, and mix things up.
It can, but yeah, absolutely. But my gut feel would be to try and keep that individual style. And even if you're running an agency, you know, when you're working for lots of different brands, people come to you because they know your design style, because they've seen how you work with other brands. So there's that kind of commonality, and there's that, it's very, very similar between the two, really.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, what are the tools? What tools out there for marketing or tracking what is working, says Marcel. Well, obviously for marketing yourself, again, we're pushing back to Instagram, we're pushing back to newsletters off your own website. If you're giving some kind of lead magnet, which Tom obviously often promotes himself, you're looking at other people's audiences. But mainly for tracking what's working, it's back to research. It's back to looking at the market, looking at those trends, looking at what's popular, what's selling, and just research, and legwork, really. So there's no kind of quick shortcut or website you can go to and say, you know, what's working in digital products. All you can really do is go through all the platforms and see what's hot, what's selling well, and just keep an eye on those trends.
And you know what, Matt, like even if you put in all the legwork and all the research and you give yourself the best possible chance, you still can't always predict it, because all our top designers say some of their top products that really popped, it was a pleasant surprise, but they thought it would just be another normal product, and something about it clicked with the market and just went.
And it just really went. Yeah, absolutely. Look at Grid Builder and Letter Builder. Whoa, hasn't that just gone and gone and gone? But, you know, it's a great idea, isn't it? And they found that gap and they're like, oh, wouldn't it be really useful if? And it's not just something that's really useful for a few people. It's really useful for so many people that it just runs and runs and sells and sells and sells.
Well, I think this is where volume of output matters. And it doesn't matter if you're doing a digital design product or you're crafting like a physical product for Etsy or something out of a bit of wood. What you see whenever you sell any kind of product is, let's say you put 10 products out, they won't all sell the same. Some will flop, some will be average, and maybe 1 or 2 out of the 10 will fly and do incredibly well. So it's only, you can't really gauge what is working when you've just put out 1 or 2 products. You need to build up a volume, and then you can start to get pattern recognition for the ones that keep blowing up.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So Emma asks, how did I work out my way to being a creative director? Well, Mainly, as you can see here, dedication to tea and biscuits.
I can testify to that, having worked
Yeah,
alongside Matt.
absolutely. Plenty of dunking action is the main thing. But seriously, a lot of time and effort. And what I've put here is always, remember to always show up. It doesn't matter how rubbish a day you're having or what's happening in life, or if you're really struggling, just show up and just keep trying. And often I've had some really bad times, as Tom could testify, over the last 5 years. It hasn't been the best time in my personal life, but what's really propped me up is work and business, and the people I work with. So that just helps me show up. So I think if you can have that mindset where work's not a chore, it's what keeps you going. It's not even work, it's your passion. Then that makes always showing up actually quite easy, because mentally that actually props you up. What's really important if you want to be a creative director is not just to have design skills, but also to have business skills. So obviously I worked as a designer in an agency, I worked freelance, I then ran my own agency, I then helped obviously my clients do their marketing, etc. So that builds up a certain level of business skills, which are really, really handy for a creative director, because you need kind of a bit of an overall acumen for what's going on in the business and in marketing to do the job, really. And then finally, just lots and lots and lots of hard work. Just lots of hard work. But as I say, it's not a chore, it's a joy. It's a privilege being a creative director. It's a privilege working with the designers that we work with, seeing their work come together, and actually being in a position where I can use my ideas and share those with other people, and then see them come to life is a real joy.
Yeah, and Matt's fantastic at what he does. I know the community know that. We saw a lot of them shouting him out last session, but you really are. And I think what you alluded to with design and business skills, I kind of see as like viewing the bigger picture. And that's always the way when you get more senior in any career path. When you're a junior designer, it's like, here's the work, you've got your blinkers on, you do the work. When you're the creative director, you see that bigger picture. And if I may, I'd like to add one point, which is people skills, because what I've seen from you is, as a creative director, you're fantastic at managing the creatives that you work with in your team, and also when you ran your agency clients. So I think if you act like a horrible person, you're probably not going to get that far in that career path, or indeed any.
It's really important, and I think obviously we know this as design class. It's just really important to be nice to people, to be open, to be honest, to be kind. And I've been a designer for many, many years. I know how difficult it is to work with a rubbish brief, so I know how important it is to give our designers really good briefs and to give them as much support as possible, because I know when you don't get that as a designer, it's just an absolute nightmare. And it makes your life really difficult. So I can empathize and really, resonate.
I like Matt. This is a little insight behind the scenes. Matt's very good at pushing back when he gets a rubbish internal brief, including from me, because I've been guilty of this. I'm really busy, and I'm like, "Oh, can the design team kind of help whip this up?" And he's like, "That's not a brief. We need some detail."
Like, what even is that? What is that? I don't even understand what you're going on about.
And then I can't argue against that, because as a former designer myself, I'm like, yeah, I know.
So yeah, if you want to become a creative director, get those design skills down, get some business skills as well. It will be beneficial for you running your own business, even if it's on the sideline, because you will learn those client skills, which are so super, super important. Okay. Gabby snuck in a couple here. Do you go through the whole project scope before releasing anything? Or when you release, are you still working on other aspects of the product? And how long did it take to finish the brush pack? Well, this really just says it all. It's not finished. It's still going on. Nathan is still communicating with me and sending me awesome covers for the individual broken down packs, because we're still working on it, because part of that project and part of all the exclusive products, we'll be breaking them into smaller products, which we can then market as well. So we're looking at all the covers for those, how they might work. Our Jem, our senior marketing manager, is reaching out this week with a plan to all of those designers to help push those forwards. So yeah, so it's by no means finished at all. And some of the elephants, some of the elephants, no elephants were harmed in this presentation. Some of the elements as I talked about in the previous session, might be shifted to later updates because you might just like too much for the scope. And if anybody downloaded my free product planning document via Instagram this week, they will see that it advocates that if it's too much, if you haven't got the time, you might want to shift some of those elements to later updates, and then you can market the product again. So work continues, updates, splitting up the products, etc. 6 months and counting.
But check out what the most popular current packet design cuts is on the homepage.
For sure. It is that one. It is that one because it's got the biggest audience, and it's got a lot going for it. A huge audience for the awesome social proof, fantastic quality. It just ticks all the boxes.
Can I take a brief commercial break?
You certainly can.
Speaker. So,
come round with ice cream.
If the team could please link up Matt's Instagram. This is always fun to do, but it's especially fun today because Matt is on 497 followers.
So let's 500.
So let's blow it up. Let's tip it over into 500. If you're not already following Matt, in addition to the Product Academy, he's pretty new on Instagram, but he's putting out some killer content there, teaching you how to do all of the stuff that he covers today in the Product Academy and more. So definitely go drop him a follow right now, and you can look forward to regular content in your Instagram feed that teaches you how to do this stuff.
I'm so new that a lovely person reached out to me, and I'm really sorry. I'm terrible with names. I can't remember the exact name, but if you're here, thank you for prompting me to set up Linktree, which I did last night at about half.
Oh, you did? Nice.
Somebody messaged me on Instagram, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go and do that right now. And that just says it all. I just stopped after my day of work, went on, sat down on my computer, set it up. Really
500 followers. You did it. Milestone. Thanks, guys. Mary says that was me. Shout out to Mary for the link.
Thank you, Mary. That's really appreciated. Yeah. So there we go. So it's just learning all the time. And I think, again, being part of a creative director or anyone at that level in the company is just listening and going, do you know what? I don't know how to do that. I haven't really done this before. Oh, Tom, you've gone soft focus.
Oh, it's because I was shaking my phone. Hold on. Let me try and fix this.
There we
go. Oh, not my first rodeo. There we go.
As if by magic. So yeah, just listen and yeah, just admit when you don't know something or someone else knows how to do something, and just take that idea and go, yeah, I'll have that. Brilliant. Okay, so AJ asks, does following a trend help in making more revenue? Well, obviously I've said exploiting a thriving and engaged category can help totally, like Procreate, but you should always look to find a unique angle, even if you're exploiting that trend. And do remember that trends change. So there's a positive and a negative side to trends, which is it is a trend. It's not going to last forever. If you see a trend happening, try and get in early. I think first mover advantage, is it, Tom? You always say?
Yeah.
The trend. So it's important to get in there early, but then also diversify to reduce your risk. Don't just get on those trends because those trends most likely won't last. And in business, it's good to diversify your risk and to produce different types of products in different marketplaces, because just in case that trend doesn't last forever. And I've said that, a really great evergreen idea or product, such as the brush pack, which isn't really following a trend, it's just a great product that, has a massive audience, will probably make more revenue in the long run.
Absolutely. If I may, Matt, here is a graph.
Oh, look at that.
With a coffee ring on it. I'm leaking coffee this week.
We're a classy company.
Which I can't even see because it's mirrored. What's the start of the graph? Which side? Is that the start?
That's the start. No, the start's the other side, Tom. The start's the other side.
Starts here. Okay, cool. So generally with trends, this is how it works. It starts off not existing, then it comes into existence. If it's a popular trend, it picks up steam and it gets more and more and more popular, and then it hits a kind of peak capacity. And then generally, the nature of trends is it will start to wane and decline as people get a bit bored or fatigued with it, and then it will kind of bottom out and plateau somewhere down here. So it might sound obvious, but what the majority of people do is they jump on very late. They will actually jump on here, or even worse, here, and think, oh, great, like everyone's done this thing to death. I'm going to jump on and replicate their success. And then they're already on the downturn. And they wonder why they don't experience the success of the very smart people that jumped on here and rode that wave. So we've seen this over the years with everything from like some retro trends to like, you know, watercolor, digital watercolor. I remember a few years ago that didn't really exist as such. So a few very savvy people came on the scene early, did it really well and blew up. But now if those same exact packs were released today, it might be somewhere down here in terms of the results because it's too late and everyone already owns them or a bit tired and it's not as special as it was.
For sure, absolutely. And I think one of the things we try and do is we try and get in on those trends early. You know, we try and look at the platforms, up and coming design platforms, and get on there as early as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So EB asks, is there a good way of getting an insight into what customers are searching for, like search terms and phrases that could help artist designers focus their efforts on unique products that fill an existing gap in the market? Well, I'm really, really sorry, but I think we've covered this already. The way you do that is legwork. Basically, get on your best shoes and scamper all over those marketplaces. Get on those podcasts, you know, listen to all our sessions, follow all the best designers, and just completely dive into the market. And over time,
go read Product Academy.
And go read the Product Academy, and you, that's how you do it. Basically, it just takes some time to actually do that.
Cool.
Okay. I think there we go. That's the end of that set of questions. So
Damn, this is incredible timing. I think we're going to have time for the additional questions put in today and everything.
Well, it's almost like when I shared this with you earlier, you said, "Are you sure that's not too many questions?" And I took a few out. So the final takeaways are: immerse yourself in the market, do the legwork. It's what it's all about. Find your talent, offer something different, offer something unique. Give value to grow your brand. People want value. They want great products. They want to see something different. Once they can see that you can create something different, they want to know how to do it themselves. Share that information with them. Get on Instagram. Become an authority figure. You know, grow your brand. Take your time. Build your audience. Level up. This takes time. You're not going to be Lisa Glanz straight away, but you will be able to look at other designers and watch them up and coming and think, look, what are they doing to get there? And come to our sessions, because we will tell you what you need to do to level up. And
perfect.
People have contacted me and say, look, I'm an ideas person. You know, how do I become the person who contacts designers and then creates products with them? Again, you've got to position yourself over time. That won't happen overnight, because if you contact a designer out of the blue, but you don't have the background, if you don't have the authority in yourself or your personal brand, they might not take you seriously enough to do it. So that will take time as well.
Love it. Well, before we jump into Q&A, let's give it up for Matt, because that was amazing. And thank you for taking the extra time on the back of your original session to get back to all of those wonderful questions. Appreciate it.
No worries. Have I managed to get rid of my screen sharing?
No.
Excellent.
There we go. Matt, are you happy if I pick out some of the questions that have come in and kind of feed them to you / us? Because there's a few duplicates that I think you've covered already.
Sure.
Look at all the nice comments. Glad that everyone
thank
enjoyed
you very
it.
much, everyone.
I, if you don't mind, Matt, I might actually take this first one, because this is a horribly complex one, talking about the digital tax that is being brought in by countries for persons selling digital items.
That's all yours.
Yeah. So it's a very complex issue, but the simple answer is that bigger platforms like Design Cuts generally take care of this stuff for you in some respects. But if you're an individual seller, then you need to be more cognizant of consulting a professional, because it can be a bit of a minefield out there. And so I would with anything like this that kind of comes to the forefront in society, there will be specialists that spring up, and there's people that do just this specific kind of tax legalities for you. So if you have your own website, this is where it gets tricky, because it's easy enough to put it on a bigger platform and have that thought about for you. What's more difficult is if you're not earning that much money, so you don't have that much money for a lawyer, but you still need to do it, because otherwise you could get in trouble. So I do feel for all of the small creatives out there who are earlier into this. We hear this all the time from people. It's a tricky area for them. Greeth asks, what is a realistic income goal for selling digital products for the first time?
Well,
Is there a
that's a tricky one,
formula
isn't
you
it?
can use so that you know what to expect? I don't think there's a formula.
No, I don't think so. And I think we can say that, the biggest designers out there make a very, very healthy income indeed, and that it will take some time to get there. But I'm not sure there's a formula for saying this is exactly how much you're going to make out of the blocks.
So maybe we could give the top end. So the top end is millions and millions of dollars, no joke. And we're good friends with several of those characters that are making those kinds of enormous sums. So, and that's like independent, individual people who went from never having made a digital product to like, oh, I might give this a go, and then really jumping in and just being incredibly good at it. But at the top of the game, millions
They
of
really
dollars.
are, and they've developed their brand to the nth degree.
Yeah. And Upama just went, whoa, yeah, it's pretty cool. But
crazy, right?
at the bottom end, you know what the people at the bottom end are earning?
Yeah.
Nothing, because there's a lot of people who try and do this and don't do a very good job and don't follow any of the steps that Matt laid out in the Product Academy. So, Matt, I guess there's bands within that spectrum, though, isn't there? So
there's hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. It just depends on the quality of the product, how many products you've got, and your profile. If you can get your products into the most popular, and that's a lot easier on Design Cuts than it is on other platforms because we have less products, because we don't there's not, you don't have to wade your way through a sea of, I can't use any of the words I want to use for some of the products that are on some of the other websites. If you get onto our website, people know that it's a quality product to begin with. You will be found more easily, and you are more likely to end up in the more popular products, and to actually be listed. So it's a good place to start.
I would say that there is quite a few designers that work with us that actually make a full-time living, if that's kind of what people are looking to hear, if that's possible. So that's really cool. And this is our favorite part of the job, where we hear from those designers. We've had people like put their kids through college, pay off their house, or just dance around their house saying, oh, I don't have to go back to my day job. So that makes us super happy.
The feedback we get is from our exclusive product designers is like, I can't believe I get to do this for a living. This is my job, cool, right? Yeah, I know. Awesome.
One of like the final and biggest tip I can give in terms of earnings is as you add more products, they should, in theory, your earnings should increase over time, because there's a big difference between people that put one product out versus someone that has 20 or 30 that they've built up over years, because what happens is that will diversify your earnings significantly. So even if each one's just making like $100 there, a few $100 there, when you got 20 doing that at once, that massively adds up. So, totally.
For sure. And again, just think about that quality. If you put quality products, they'll get noticed. If you pump products out, they'll just die, and they'll just be gone, and that time will be completely wasted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So I'm just okay. We kind of answered this. So Carol asks, what's the best way to market to your target audience? Social media doesn't work very well. And the reason I call this out is the second part. Social media doesn't work very well.
It just takes time. And obviously, Tom, you've helped me a lot with my social media, because that's one of the things you specialize in. And yeah, I just think it takes time for it to work well and to build up that audience. And you've got to give away something valuable and interesting. And that's what people are looking for.
The reality answer, and a little bit of tough love, is just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean it doesn't work, full stop. Yes. And just because it doesn't work for you right now doesn't mean it will never work for you.
Yeah.
So we've all seen people earning a fortune on social media. So we know it works. It's just, are we doing it right? Are we doing it good enough? Are we targeting the right people? Is the product the right fit? Have we done it long enough?
Yeah. And how long did it take me to put my Instagram up? Glaciers have moved more quickly than I moved to put Instagram up. And then did we have that conversation, Tom? Have we had conversation where I get in touch and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a bit disenfranchised with it this week, and I'm not really feeling it, and it's not really happening. And it's so just, because, I'm a designer. Like lots of other designers out there, I want to design, I want to hide behind my monitor, I want to come up with cool ideas. Social just feels a bit sometimes. So yeah, I totally feel that, but it does work, and you can build a community, and I think we're proof of that it can be done. It's just it's again, it's about the quality product. It's about giving value. It's about making connections. And I get on Instagram and I try to reply to absolutely everyone, and I try to engage with everyone and talk to them because I want to. I want to know about the people who are looking at what we're putting out. It's interesting.
Yeah, and that is, it's about more than the money. Building a community and building those connections is a really, really cool thing. I can't help him out. I've done a second graph.
Okay. Constance is saying it's her Achilles heel. I totally understand that, Constance. I totally feel you. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, we actually, Mariana, we did a few episodes on social media. Certainly one I can think of recently on honest designers, which is worth checking out. This is how people think social media works, right? They think they're going to start doing it and they're just going to grow in a linear line like this. This is the truth, which if you Google compound interest is more the graph you will see, where it moves so slowly, it feels like nothing is happening for a frustratingly long time. But if you keep at it and get better and better, it starts to pick up. And then as it gathers steam and traction, it has this kind of exponential inflection. This is the truth. And what happens is most people get here and just say, I can't be bothered, it's not working, and they give up before they've kept at it long enough.
Yeah. And I think I think with social, it's important to do it for the love of it. I do it because I love teaching and I love helping other designers. I don't care about being an influencer. I don't really care about Instagram. I'm just using it to reach other designers and help them. That's it, really.
Well, this in the episode, Mariana just linked up. This is exactly what we were saying. It's social media.
It is social.
It should be about. It should be basically making friends and sharing and creating and helping. So you're actually doing social right. I think all of the chasing vanity metrics and trying to get the big numbers is the wrong way around.
But the nature of social, you get sucked into it with the likes, don't you? And everybody feels it. You're like, oh, how many likes did I get for that? How many, But actually, what's really nice is comments. When I put a post out and I get a load of comments, that for me is like, oh, awesome. After the previous session and loads of people commented, I was like, oh, this is great, chatting away. It's really good. Yeah, well, really lovely.
Look at that. Joe in the comments just said, Matt's so good, he always replies.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Yeah, I know. But it's important to say hello to everyone. You've taken your time to say hello. You've got to say hello back. Have a chat.
So this is an interesting question. Stacey M says, would you recommend having some social media following before submitting a product to design cards? Should one try to establish their market before submitting?
That is quite interesting. Well, I think I'd probably think about I think the first step is to make sure your design work is good enough to create a product. I think that's step number one. And then whilst you're doing that, you can be building up that social presence, because you can be like putting that work on there, and you can be using your friends, using your design peers to help give you encouragement to do it, so that when you do release your product, you have actually got a bit of a presence and a bit of a following as well, and people who might be interested and who might help to promote that product and who might help to get that seed off the ground, if that makes sense. Tom?
Yes. My take is that everything Matt just said is a good idea. It's great. It will help get traction, etc. But it's not mandatory.
No,
if you reach out and you're like, here's an incredible product, we're not going to be like, oh no, we're not going to sell your products because you haven't got an Instagram following.
No. But the following might, it might help give you that, just prop you up as a designer, because I know as designers need some confidence in our work, but sometimes you need someone to say, yeah, you're doing really well. I talked about building that network, making your own creative director. That can be part of that. So you can actually reach out to people and say, look, honestly, do you think this is good enough now to make a product? Is this of a high enough level? And hopefully they will give you that, once you find the trusted ones, that proper feedback and the encouragement. And if they're, you can reach out to the lead designers, and they will actually talk to you. I'm sure if you reached out to Nathan at Trailhead, he'd have a chat with you because he's a lovely guy. I'm sure if you reached out to Leslie, she would chat back to you, and they will give you advice. So it's useful for that, I think.
Love it. And just a kind of silly, random, fun question to finish. Dana asks, is that a lava lamp behind you?
Yes, it is. And I turned it on in the last session, and it's actually my daughter's only 5, so it's a child's lava lamp, and it's got a safety bulb in it. And if you tried to cook food with it, it would take about 57 million years, because that's how long it takes to heat up. So yeah, I will put it on for the next session. It's quite cool, but I need to remember really early, and I didn't today. Takes
I
about
won't
an hour to warm up.
I won't be able to
totally
take my eyes
safe,
off
right?
it if it's fluctuating in the
Yeah,
background.
it's lovely. I love a
It'll be
laugh,
really
right?
distracting.
But there's lots of things up there, like my little princesses with stickers on and all sorts. The kind of thing you have when you've got a 5-year-old in the house.
It's all eyes. Matt's just partial to Disney princesses.
I did those myself. I stuck them on really anally. Oh, I got those all lined up.
All part of the interior, all around his house.
That's right. Yeah.
Matt, that was great. Thank you so much for taking the time for the community.
Yeah, and nice to have your sort of focused marketing insights at the same time as well. Very valuable.
Well, can't wait to chat more and geek out over the product side of things. I think we've seen tons of feedback. I think further sessions would definitely be something that would help everyone, but let us know in the comments. If you're a budding product creator, if you'd like to hear more about how to do this. But in the meantime, you've got the Product Academy. It is such a great resource between sessions. Dive in and just dig through it. It's incredible. So massive shout out to Matt, not just for today.
Thank you very much. And I'll keep cracking my own Instagram whip, which I do have to do to keep the content coming up.
Yeah, well, everyone who followed Matt, turn on notifications, etc. over there, because there's some really, really good stuff coming. I get to see the sneak peeks of what Matt's working on.
Thank you very much.
For social.
Yeah, and obviously worth following Mr. Tom Ross as well.
Thanks, mate.
Loads of awesome tips.
Well, what are you up to this evening? After we jump off,
do you know what? I only see my daughter 50% of the time, sadly, because I split up with my wife a few years ago, which is a bit sad, but life moves on. But she has invited me over tonight to see her puppy. They've just got a puppy, so I am on good terms with my ex still. So I'm going to go over there and see their new puppy, and then I'm going to come back and make some dinner. So that's my plans. What about you?
That sounds like a pleasant evening. I am going to continue catching up on the huge mountain of work that built up over the birthday. So I'm digging into that, but it feels good to be tackling it piece by piece.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for coming. It's really lovely.
Cool. Have a great evening, Matt. And wherever you are in the world, I hope everyone has a great rest of their day, evening. Thank you so much for hanging with us. And we will see you back here, same time next week. Mariana, I don't know if you know who's lined up for next week. I'm out of the loop, but someone awesome, no doubt. If you know off the top of your head, let us know.
I haven't got 2 people lined up next week.
We've got a bunch of people coming up. We've got Lisa Plans doing some sessions soon.
We've got a double session. We're having to line them up because there's more than one session a week at the minute, I think. But awesome. Yes, I need to be reminded.
I'll see everyone here back next week. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging with us.
Amazing.
See you later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Cheers. Bye-bye.